Thank you very much for the invitation to make a contribution to this nice session for Tamas. I would like to shift already to the first slide. Yes, maybe the next one already, because we heard the title already. The vision of Tamas is, I think, a very important element, according to me, in the characteristics of Tamas, his life and his work. I feel that he has had always a very open mind and a very positive view towards society and human beings. And this view extends over the horizons of space and time. So in that sense, I do think that Tamas is like flying in a balloon over the scenery. And so in that sense, this open mind and the nice vision is the important element I felt. The next slide, this slide here, talks about the professional activities of academic research. As I could participate in or hear some of the presentations, this has been extensively discussed already in other presentations. But in fact, it is also for me true that the way I learned to know Tamas is through nonlinear circuit theory when I was in the from 76 to 79 in Berkeley with Leon Chua as a postdoc, and where Tamas also visited the same lab, and where we had very nice discussions, as ever since we had on a very regular basis, very stimulating interactions. Over the years, of course, the research teams have moved and broadened, and of course, the broadening towards the more neuromorphic and the neurosciences and artificial electronics and living cells is, of course, an element that Tamas very much has stimulated, and which was I was very much impressed with. And we discussed that extensively, and it stimulated also our thinking very much. The next slide gives some more on the educational aspects. I feel that Tamas always had the drive to have academic education at an international level, with cooperations with important universities like Berkeley, Notre Dame, but also many European universities, and several of the other speakers are from these universities. And we also had very extensive collaborations, and several of my colleagues at KU Leuven came to Budapest to give some lectures. On the other side, many of the Hungarian students could come to Leuven for studying a semester or a year or for a PhD. And typically, they could stay in a unique house that is in the very center of Leuven, that is for Hungarian students. And so they had opportunities to stay there together. And so I met them, for example, when in 2007, as you can see on St. Nicholas Day, the 6th of December. Next slide. Achievements. I do not have to dwell too long, but it's impressive what Tamas and his co-workers have been producing in terms of research papers in journals and conference proceedings and books, often with co-authors. And of course, I should not not miss to mention the seminal paper on the CNN universal machine with Leon Chua that has received quite a bit of intellectual attraction and interest. And there are several NSF projects that have been mentioned already, ONR and European grants. And for one of the European projects, our university and our group was working together with that of Tamas and several other European colleagues. So we had also, at the level of concrete projects, very good interaction. Next slide. One example of a publication that is maybe quite remarkable, that is in fact the first book that was devoted to cellular neural networks. It is the outcome of the first workshop on CNNA that was held in Budapest, where I still remember that this was held in December, very cold in Budapest at that time. But we had a very warm welcome and a very stimulating workshop there. And Tamas asked me to join him in doing the editing of the proceedings of this workshop. And this came out as a book of John Wiley that has had quite some attraction. Next slide. I should also definitely mention that Tamas had a lot of service activity to the scientific communities, both in Budapest, but also in Europe and internationally. The first one and the most important one is that he was the founding dean of an engineering faculty which is focusing on information technology. The visionary plans with a unique mission to combine human-centered and nature-inspired information technologies is quite unique. And I think my recent visit last year to the department or to the faculty and the different labs that I visited there show that the younger generation has really expanded this vision and proven that it is a valuable and very important one with labs and with also PhD works and also unique projects. The second bullet is mentioning the service to the Circuits and Systems Society, which is the home society for many of us, and including myself, and in IEEE in many ways. The CNNA conferences have already been mentioned. I should mention also the fact that he was a very active editor-in-chief of the IEEE Transactional Circuits and Systems, and there he asked me to be his adjunct editor. So this was also a period of 2 years that we had very intense interactions. The picture that you see here includes quite a few circuits and systems people that are still around, and some of them have passed away, but it was an editorial board meeting of the International Journal of Circuit Theory and Applications that was meeting in Krakow on the 29th of August, 2005. Mm-hmm. Very nice meeting. Maciej was our host there, I think.
Yep.
Next slide. Tamás was also instrumental in having the IEEE major conference on neural networks in Budapest in 2004. This was not in the cold winter, but in the very hot summer period in July, I still remember. And I was the program chairman, whereas Tamas was the general chair of this very successful conference in 2004. And in fact, many people still remember this important conference. And next slide. I would like to say a few things about impact and recognition. It has already been said, but I would like to reiterate it, that one very important element of the impact that Tamas has had is that he would attract strong young students, stimulate them, also colleague professors, and build an innovative environment that can build on the past success and reputation, but also can extend and elaborate the new areas. The impact on people is, I think, a very important element, because papers are important, of course, but the people are, I consider, much more important. He is also very active in the European arena, which is, I think, an important arena for exchanges here, and I feel that we should share a common European approach. Intellectual mobility has already been mentioned, and opportunities to engage in societal impact is very important at PASMA. Next slide, maybe, yes. Okay, that brings me to an important element, that is the fact that our university has been giving an honorary doctorate to Tamas and Professor Chua on the February the 4th of 2013. They called it the brainstormers because of their research on cellular neural networks. The next slide shows the rector with the Tamas and reading the citation. And on the next slide, I would like to really read for you the three important citation elements. First of all, the fundamental contributions in the research field of artificial and biological image processing methodologies with challenging applications like real-time image processing for navigation, collision avoidance, mission-critical activities, and visually impaired people. For your far-reaching societal drive to resurrect after the fall of the Iron Curtain in Budapest, the Catholic Pazman University, and for the visionary design of a new engineering faculty at this university with an interdisciplinary mission of ICT and bioneurosciences. We were very proud with this citation, and I feel that I was happy that Tamas also liked this citation. Next slide is a slide that I was taking when Tamas received a very important IEEE award, the Max van Valkenburg Award, in May 2013 in Beijing. Next slide. I would like to conclude with the last section, if I still have some time, on the personality ingredients of Tamas. I think he was always reasoning and understanding the history of the country and the people and their strategic positioning. And in that sense, I feel there's quite a few commonalities in the histories of Hungary and Belgium. We are not really dominant in the region, but we rely on internal strength, importance of education, open views, respect for values and family, and sense of community. Personal characteristics of Tamas that I really liked is his tenacity, his openness, and his serendipity. Visionary thinking has been mentioned already. Interdisciplinary approach is definitely sure, and also the societal role of engineering. I will say a few more words about that. Next slide. The human-centered approach in education and research has been mentioned. International aspects, arena and perspective, multidisciplinarity, and emphasis on deep concepts, open view, and human values. I would like to say a few things in the next slides on some quotes of Tamas. Tamas gave an interview on digital divide, and especially he was emphasizing the first point, which is the abstraction level. And the key point here is that if you don't know what to ask or where to ask for it from, the answer you receive may be completely misleading. I think we have all experienced that. And so Tamas is saying, if in education and training, the level of abstraction is very low, you cannot ask essential questions because you are just asking about the phenomenon and not the essence. And the essence is the real thing that Tamas was aiming at, of course. Another one in the same interview, we badly need knowledge, art, and moral integrity in a synthetic view. That's a sentence which I cannot completely endorse. Next slide is saying a bit more about the societal role of engineering. Both Maciej Gorzalek, Tamas, and myself, we were members of a working group for FETSER over a period of a couple of years, and there was a joint seminar in Assisi to discuss the findings of this working group. And there you see that Tamas was giving a really enthusiastic formulation and explanation of what the societal role is of engineering. Engineering is not there just for making products, but is for proving value to society. The next slide is, I think, the last one. I dedicated this contribution to the memory of Professor Tamas Roska, an inspiring, dynamic, courageous, and devoted researcher, educator, and leader. With gratitude to have known this extraordinary person as a good friend and a stimulating colleague. It was a privilege to work with him and also with his distinguished colleagues internationally. Thank you very much.